Yeah, creativity is number 5 when you look at the 10 different forms of wealth.
Okay, okay. And in another conversation, I want to know what those 10 different forms of wealth are. Okay, let me move on to the second question. Based on what you know about business, trends with global wealth, and the disparities in wealth distribution, what advice would you give hip-hoppers who are doing well economically, like P. Diddy, Will Smith, 50 Cent, Jay-Z, etc., in terms of strategically aligning themselves to invest their resources wisely?
Well, you know, there's a number of ways that you can do that, and what I would suggest to them is take the long approach. You know, so many times when people look at your generation, they get the wrong idea that money comes quick. You know, and we all know that money comes quick will even leave quicker.
Right.
And until you really value the wealth that you attained. And how do you value the wealth that you attained? You don't have to be a multimillionaire like a P. Diddy or a billionaire like Oprah Winfrey, who's aptly displayed in the latest issue of Fortune magazine. We all have wealth. And the bottom line is that you begin to take care of the wealth that you have. And how do you take care of the wealth that you have? You pay yourself first. You save 10% of everything that you earn. Well, what does this apply to the P. Diddy's and the Jay-Z's and all these individuals? Fact of the matter is that, you know, you go ahead and you begin to sink your money in institutions, or at least in those areas where wealth lasts, where wealth will be generational. I mean, don't be like a Kobe Bryant buying a $4 million ring. And what's so damning and probably upsetting about that, he probably didn't even buy the ring in the black community, so the money for the ring in the black community didn't even turn over. I mean, there's so many things he could have done with that money. He could have put that in a money market. He could have put it in a mutual fund, or he could have placed that money in an annuity with his wife's name that would be generational. So the fact of the matter is, you know, going back to what the boys from Essence Magazine, when I interviewed Clarence Smith of Essence Magazine, what he told me, he says, wealth is not what you have, it's what you look forward to. And when you take the long-range approach, when you can sit down with a Sean Puffy Combs or whoever and ask the simple question, Wyatt, where do you see yourself in 20 years? In other words, take the eye off where you are now and start looking at time determinants and think in terms of long-time determinants.
Okay. So
I mean, why you tell me right now why these guys are looking to endow a B school. You tell me. You got 114 HBCUs around the country. You got 39, United Negro College Funds institutions in the country. Let's walk on any of those institutions. Let's walk on the campus. Find me one building they endowed. Find me one building they endowed. And let's look at philanthropy. You know, I mean, how many Bentleys do you need? I'm not knocking these guys. I know they enjoy the nightlife. And that type of bling-bling, it attracts these other students, but they're leading them astray. Let's look in terms of philanthropy. I mean, Wyatt, when you look at the top philanthropic organizations, what's number one? Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates is a billionaire. And it depends how the stock market is doing. His wealth can vary anyway from 45 billion to 65 billion. Well, I mean, to date, last year alone, he gave 1.1 billion away. So when you look at the top 10, who are the names that you see? Well, you see Bill Gates. You see the Packard Foundation, founders of Hewlett-Packard. You see the Annenberg Foundation, founders of Reader Digest. You see Ted Turner. You see the Eli Lilly Endowment. You know, so let's think, hip hoppers. Okay, take your wealth, galvanize it, congeal it. You know, and we know that between Russell Simmons and P. Diddy, you're dealing with 300 million right there. Throw in Jay-Z, throw in the rest, and why should Amaris Brown go begging? You tell me. You tell me.
Okay.
I mean, you go look at Ebony Magazine when they had the nerve to go ahead and feature Bob Johnson's wife. They got a divorce, and now she's being touted as the first black female billionaire. Well, she isn't. Oprah Winfrey beat her to the punch.
Right.
And if Oprah Winfrey didn't beat her to the punch, punch Kathy Hughes of Radio 1 certainly did, because she's a billionaire on paper.
Okay.
Okay, and then she flaunts it. She says that she's going to give her money to Parsons College. Wait a minute, you're going to give your money to Parsons? And how did your husband make his money on BET? Oh, with black rap videos? And who watches videos? These kids at Parsons College, or these kids at Clark Atlanta, Spelman, and Morehouse?
So Parsons is a white institution?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to hear it. We're to this point where we shouldn't go begging. And I know these guys get hit up all the time, but that's a part of the culture, Wyatt. That's a part of the same slave mentality culture. Take the mirrors and take the shiny pots and pans, go into the jungles of Africa, and come back with the slave's land. Plus, the quickest way to being a millionaire, get $39 of cheap jewelry and go to the black community.
I'm sorry. Sorry for laughing. I'm not.
I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
You tell me. It's that same poor culture, slave mentality. That's why I love the story when didn't get a chance to interview S.B. Fuller, traveled to his headquarters twice in Chicago. But as you may or may not know, I did sit down with the Dean of Entrepreneurs, Dr. Gaston. And, he told me something, and I had to verify it to see if it was true. A.G. Gaston, the Dean of Black Entrepreneurs, born and raised in Demopolis, Alabama, got his start with Booker T Life Insurance, on the streets of Birmingham, Alabama. And I heard that S.B. Fuller, when Martin Luther King had the bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama, that the boycott was so successful that the bus company was about to go out of business. And A.G. Gaston and S.B. Fuller ran into Martin Luther King's study in his offices in one of the churches that they were using to spearhead up the organization and said, Martin, the bus boycott has worked. Let's put a plan together, put a proposal together. Go ahead, we can go ahead and get the financing, go into the company and buy the bus company out, and we can drive the bus wherever we want. And at that time, black leadership was not into businesses and economic development. Martin Luther King, back in 1957, said that three-letter word that Ron Brown said that we have got to remove from the equation. You know what that three-letter word is?
What's that?
But. Martin Luther King said, but. And Ron Brown said to me when I interviewed him in Washington, D.C., you never want them to be able to use the word but. When thinking about you, when thinking about your capabilities, and thinking about all your talents, you never want them to be allowed to use the word, yeah, they got the GPA, sharp, the business is growing, but you always want to remove but from the equation.
Okay.
I know you don't want to hear this, but tough. Take it like a man. If I stepped on your feet, you need to move your feet.
Okay. I hear you.
I mean, who cares, man? Who cares? Think in terms of generational wealth.
Okay. That's a serious answer to that question.
Man, I've been with white billionaires. You ought to see the way they dress. You ought to see the way they act. Do you think Bill Gates' wife has a $4 million ring?
No.
Kobe Bryant. Come on. Man, what's up with that? But see, that's telling you, Wyatt, that he sinned twice. First sin, adultery. The second sin, poor steward of his financial blessings.
Okay.
I got some good news for you.
What's that?
Romans 8:28.
Okay.
It's all good for those who believe.
All right. I'll check it out.
8:28.
Okay, I'll break that off.
Yeah, break that off, brother.